Hello? Is there anyone out there? Is anyone listening? Welcome. This is Dear Aliens. I am your host, Molly, resident complainer, lemon lime soda ranker, and your storyteller for today. Thank you so much for tuning in to find out what topics make me want to get beamed up. Today, I am going to start by introducing mini stories. We have a couple of mini stories in this episode today, and we'll kick it right off with the first one. This is a middle school mini story. And if anyone remembers middle school, it was cutthroat. Like the beef from middle school, it's still living today. If we beefed in middle school, honestly, I'm probably not over it. I still remember it. My feelings are still hurt. I am taking this to the grave. I cannot move on. But the mini story I want to share with you from middle school is about the time that the janitor stole my Ugg boots. And you're probably like, that's not a story, that's just a sentence. No, this was a tale. This was a trip. So when I was in middle school, I played almost every sport you could join. And I was a lollygagger. So after practice, sometimes I was the last one to leave. And we didn't always put locks on our lockers. Definitely it was because we were in a Christian setting, so stealing would be wrong. So sometimes like you would just like throw your lock on there and like not actually lock it. And practice was over. It was winter time, so I was wearing Uggs every single day. Like you were not going to catch me not wearing my Uggs. And I open up my locker, they're gone. And you're probably like, okay, Molly, what does that have to do with the janitor? So I'm like, my mom is going to be so mad that I lost my Uggs because Uggs are expensive. I was like, she is never going to give me or trust me with anything ever again. So next day when I get to school, I ask all the girls on the team. I was like, hey, did anybody see my Uggs? Did anybody like take them by mistake? Making sure that like no one feels accused. So if they really did take them, if they want to return them, like no questions will be asked. It was one of those situations. And everyone was like, no, like we didn't even see your Uggs at all. And that's when I had this like Raven Simone, that's so Raven moment where it wasn't like I had a vision, but the intuition was so strong. I was like, the janitor took my Uggs. Don't ask me how I got there, but my brain, my heart, and my soul, they were like, he got them. He took them. I don't know what he's doing with them, but he has them. And when it came to that point, I was like, I have to tell my mom. So I'm like, Mom, I think the janitor stole my Uggs. And it basically became this entire issue. And my mom like brought it up to the people at school. And then all of a sudden, like the next week, my boots reappeared in my locker. No questions were asked. No one said anything. I just feel like I know that the janitor had my Uggs. But thank you for returning them. Thank you. So I just wanted to start with that mini story of the time that the janitor stole my Uggs, because it's like, what is a janitor doing with like a kid size 6 Uggs? But let's not think too much into that. We'll just jump into the next topic of being like, getting to know someone, getting when you I think the best piece of advice I've heard from people is that when you are in a serious relationship and you're thinking about marrying someone, take them to an airport. Travel with them somewhere, because you will find out who people really are when you are at the airport. For me, I live on the edge. Like, I am not anyone's ideal flight companion. Most people, they're like, I want to be there 2 hours early, 3 hours early. I do not want to be at my gate any earlier than 35 minutes before my flight starts boarding. And I know that sounds insane, but I can't stand it. And people must be like, well, you must always be on the edge. Like, you must always be really worried. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I refuse to panic when it comes to traveling to the airport during, say, a peak traffic time. I will not stress. I cannot stress. I know that there's nothing I can do to change my situation. I know that being stressed about it is not going to get me there any faster. And I just cannot use my energy that way. So I refuse to stress about flights. And my non stress attitude has gotten me very far. And I have only ever missed one flight, and it was not even my fault. Let me tell you about this. So, the one time I missed my flight, I was traveling from Chicago back to Boston, and it was during that time when TSA was a mess. Like, if anyone remembers when it was making the national news because you were in the security line for actual hours. So, this wasn't my usual, like, Molly showed up an hour before her flight to get in line at security. No, I was 4 hours early. My mom was like, you aren't messing around. You are getting there early because you are going to spend hours in line. So I'm there early. I get my bag checked immediately. I'm standing in line, and I don't need to be like, I was waiting and I was waiting and I was waiting. Obviously, that's the point of this story. I was waiting 2.5 hours. And, the first part of it, I was like, okay, it's going to be fine. But then as you start creeping closer, this is when I was like, I'm worried. And I was like, it's time to exercise all of your confidence. So, like a video game character, I charged myself up with all of my confidence. I brought it right to my voice box and I started asking people, I'm so sorry, my flight is leaving in less than an hour. Do you mind if I go in front of you? Every 15 minutes, I would ask someone if I could go in front of them. And usually people would be like, 3 or 4 people would be like, oh yeah, like please go in front of us. Like, no worries. And I'm actually in this line for so long, it gets to the point where my flight is going to start boarding in 20 minutes. And now I've finally gotten my ticket checked. So I am within 10 feet of putting my items on the security belt and walking through the detector. I'm feeling hopeful, but I'm still not playing. So I ask a couple more people, can I please go in front of you? And they're like, yeah, no problem. So now I'm up there. I have my bag on the belt. My shoes are off. I get to the detector. Bag goes through, no issue. I go through, no issue. I've got my stuff. So I do a mini jog. And I was like, you're going to make it. You're going to be fine. The boarding doesn't end for like another 5 minutes. And as I'm running up on my gate, this woman is like, hi, are you Margaret? I was like, yeah, that's me. And she was like, oh, yeah, we closed the doors to the flight. And I like pull my phone up and I was like, don't the doors close in like 5 minutes? And she was like, yeah, but we closed them early. I looked at her and I was appalled because who shuts the doors early? And it's not as if I hadn't even checked my bags. My bags had already been loaded onto the flight. So I'm looking at her and I don't even know what to say or do. And she's like, this kind of sucks for you. You think? So I step away and I call my mom because I didn't know what else to do. She doesn't pick up because she's driving to work. I get that. So I walk back over to the woman and I was like, well, what do I do now? And she was like, well, you can get on the next flight. It leaves in like an hour. And I was like, that sounds really good. Thank you. And I step away and I call my ride. And my ride tells me that he has dinner reservations and he will not be missing those dinner reservations because my life is not his world. So I can take that flight, but kind of tough nubs on how I'm going to get to school. So now I'm like, love it. Love it. Let's keep vibing, guys. So I go back over and I was like, "Hi, I don't think I can get on this flight. Like, can you please help me find a different flight?" And she was like, "Yeah, I'll help you find a different flight." And then she tells me that she can't get me a flight for less than $1,000. So now I'm trying to not be upset, but I'm upset and she can definitely tell. So she's like, if that doesn't work for you, like you can always use your laptop and like find your own alternative flight, and that will probably be cheaper than what I have to offer you. So I was like, okay, thank you. I go and I squat next to this garbage can. I pull out my laptop from my backpack and I start searching for flights. I can't find a flight for less than $600. And I did not even have $600 in my bank account at the time. So I'm like, I don't know what to do. And when you get to that point of like, you don't know what to do and you kind of, I guess the only way to put it is like, I felt helpless in that moment. I just started to cry. So I'm crouched next to this garbage can, clutching my laptop, crying. Like I don't even care that anyone can see me. I just had to get my emotions out. No shame. And I'm glad that I did cry because I didn't notice and because I didn't care if anyone was watching. I didn't know that people were watching. So I stopped crying after about 5 minutes. I wiped my tears, I packed up my backpack, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but whatever. And this woman, she calls over to me, and it's a different woman than the woman who was not helping me. And she was like, come over here. And I was like, hi. And she was like, you don't need to be upset. And I was like, well, I kind of think I do need to be upset because I have places to go and things to do literally over 1,000 miles away. And I didn't say that though, because I was being nice. I was just like, thank you. And she was like, I'm going to help you. She was like, we have a flight that's the same exact flight as today, but tomorrow. She was like, will that work for you? And I was like, yeah. I was like, how much is it going to be? And she was like, it doesn't cost anything. She boops around her computer. She prints out this new ticket. She hands it to me and she's like, here's your ticket. She was like, same exact flight for tomorrow. She was like, I know that you were here early. She was like, I guess my only piece of advice is get here even earlier. And like, I hope you make the flight tomorrow. If you are out there, if this woman is out there, if she hears that, thank you for your kindness. It has not been forgotten. It has made an impression on my heart. So thank you so much for helping me because I was young. I was 19 and I did need help in that moment. And giving me that free flight made me feel cared for. So thank you, perfect stranger. That was the time I missed my flight and it had nothing to do with me. But I'll give you another mini story. This will be a little palate cleanser before the big tale. This is a mini story of hilarity and fear is the only way to put it. So my family, we went on a family vacation to Disney World around Halloween, and it was the best vacation of our lives. On the flight down, oh my God, the turbulence. I'm not kidding. My entire family, we thought that we were going to lose our lives. I've never thought that a plane was going to go down more than in this moment. I was like, there is no hope, to the point where my mom is gripping both me and my brother because she is like, this plane is doing some scary things. So across the aisle from us, there was a set of what seemed to be new parents with a set of newborn twins. And in the row behind them were the grandparents. And these twins are obviously having the worst airplane ride of their life. They were just born. They're on the worst flight ever. They're screaming. No one's even mad. Like, we're not even mad. We're just like, everyone's having a terrible time right now. And these parents decide that this is the perfect moment to pass the twins over the seats to the grandparents. And as they're passing the twins, the plane drops and the babies fly out of their hands and hit the ceiling. Like, you heard this clunk of these two newborns hitting the ceiling of the plane and then coming down into the grandparents' arms. I wish, like, if you are envisioning something out of a cartoon, you are envisioning correctly. That everyone on the plane saw it, and we all just sat there like, oh, no one said anything. No one knew if they should act like it happened or it didn't happen. The babies kept crying. So, like, I'm assuming they're fine. Like, their necks weren't broken. But we were all just like, oh my God, have you ever seen a baby hit the ceiling? Ooh, ooh. So, that was your mini airplane palate cleanser before the tale of all tales, a true epic. And this was the time that I beat all the odds. And the lesson of this story is do not rely on close friends for impossibly important flights, because you don't want to resent them later if they do something that is unforgivable. And it's as simple as I asked this friend to pick me up and take me to the airport so I could go home for Thanksgiving. And they were late to pick me up by like 20 minutes. And if you have to go through Boston rush hour, 20 minutes is make or break. So he picks me up late. And he's not even sorry when I get in. He was like, oh, I was delayed because I had to get my ticket in line so I can get the new iPhone next week. Are you kidding me? That is so selfish. That is so beyond selfish. So the entire way to the airport, we are stuck in the worst traffic ever. But like I said earlier, I'm no stress when it comes to things I can't control and I'm going to the airport. So I'm not stressing. He's not stressing. He should be stressing, but he is not stressing. So we finally get to the airport, and it's about 40 minutes before my flight. And he's like, I hope you make it. Like, sorry I was late. And I was like, thank you for giving me a ride. Bye. Happy Thanksgiving. I go into the airport. I check my bag like lightning. I get in line for TSA. And I was right at the part where, you know, when they have to wind the line because there's so many people, I was right at the hilt where the woman on the other side of the divider would be the next person to get her ticket checked before she got into the shorter security line. And there's probably 60 people between her and myself winding through the airport. So I knew if I did not seize the moment, I was going to be screwed. So I leaned over to this woman and I was like, hi, I'm so sorry. I was like, my flight is boarding in 20 minutes. Do you mind if I go in front of you? And she was like, oh my gosh, no problem at all. She was like, come right on through, lifts up the divider for me. They call my name up next so I can get my ticket checked. I get in line for security. And I was like, it's all going to work out. It's all going to work out. The optimism is practically seeping out of my pores in this moment. Little did I know that the man in front of me, the oldest man on the earth, I swear his name must have been Jebediah, brought every single item short of a lethal weapon in his bag. I'm not kidding. So we put our bags on the belt. I go through the security. I'm waiting for my bag. My bag gets pulled. And I was like, what could possibly be in there? I was like, there's literally nothing in there. Jebediah's bag also got pulled, and he was in front of me. So now they're going through it. This man has full-size shampoo, full-size conditioner, full-size body wash. Never have I ever wished that a man was using Head and Shoulders 3-in-1. My God. Full-size toothpaste. Every single item you cannot bring on a plane, this man has. It was absurd. And he's fighting with every item. He's like, oh, you're serious? I can't have that? Sir, is this your first time flying? Because I am 99% sure it was not his first time flying. And even if it was his first time flying in 40 years, that still does not give him a good enough excuse to have brought that many full-size bottles, in my opinion. I get desperate. So now I'm begging TSA agents. I was like, please check my bag. Please check my bag. And they're like, ma'am, you need to wait. And I was like, please, I'm going to miss my flight. And they were like, no, you just need to wait. So I wait. They finally come over to check my bag. They pull out my hair straightener and they were like, what is this? I was like, that is my hair straightener. And they were like, alrighty then. They put it back in my bag. They zip it up and they're like, you're all set to go. I need someone to be physically restraining me right now. How dare you? But I'm a nice person. You treat people well in public. So I start running to my gate. I've got shin splints. That's a very important note here because anyone who's had shin splints knows how painful it is. So I'm running on shin splint legs. I'm crying. I go to the gate. There is not a soul. There is no person. Like when I say there's not a soul, there is legitimately not one person who works there or a person looking for a flight within 20 feet of this gate. There was one lone woman on the opposite side standing behind a desk from a different airline company, but there was not another soul. So now I'm flipping out and I run over to this woman and I was like, where's this flight? And she was like, oh, it moved 20 minutes ago. And I was like, where's it now? And she was like, Concourse C. I'm in like Concourse B right now. I was like, I'm so screwed. So I tell her, I was like, can you please let them know that like I'm coming? Like I'm here. I was stuck in security. Like I've literally been at the airport for like an hour at this point. And this woman, she leans in and she says to me, I think this might have been the cruelest thing someone has ever said to me in my entire life. She says to me, you better run. That's like a dagger to the heart. So I turn and I start running. I am Usain Bolt. I am the dog Bolt from the movie Bolt in this moment. I am moving so fast. Tears are streaming down my face from the pain. But I was like, I will make it. So I run to the other side. And just as I'm running up on the gate, I see them shut the door. I'm less than 20 feet away. I fall to my knees, one arm outstretched, reaching towards the door. And I was like, no, like straight up slow-mo as I'm falling to my knees. And this one-armed man named Hector, he's like, are you supposed to be on this flight? And I was like, yes. I was like, sir. I look at this man so seriously, so dead in the eyes. And I go, sir, I will do absolutely anything to get on that flight. I was not playing in that moment. This man understood that when I said I would do anything, I meant it. If he's listening to this podcast and he called me up and he was like, hey, I heard your podcast. Like, I've now decided I want your firstborn child. I would have to agree. So this man, he's like, let me see what I can do. He picks up the phone. He tucks it on his shoulder. He's typing with his one hand. He's going hard. And he's talking on the other side of the phone. And then he's like, okay. And I was like, please, God. Actually, at this point, I'm not praying for God. I was like, please, Hector. Please, Hector. He hangs up and he looks at me and he goes, they're going to open the door. I could have kissed him. This man, he truly was my savior in this moment. So he's waiting. He's like, 1 second, they're coming up. They open up the door. The flight attendant's like, come on. I go to get on. We're walking down. Flight attendant, so nasty to me, says, you should try getting here on time. I don't even care. I didn't even recognize that they had even spoken to me. I did not care. All that had mattered was that they had opened the door and I was getting on that flight. I had a window seat. I was in like row 10. So I get on. It's two-seater. The man next to me, he gets up so I can sit down. Don't forget, I'm still crying through all of this because my shin splints are throbbing. My legs are wrecked. I want to chop them off in this moment because of how much pain I'm in.